All right, and welcome to the second video where we are going to be making our mesh no longer have all these, if you look inside, you can see that our mesh has all these, a lot of meshes inside of it. What we want to do is be able to look in here and see nothing. But right now there's just a million blocks all stacked next to each other inside the chunk, and we have all those unnecessary meshes in there, so we're going to get rid of that. So let's open up the Voxel Renderer script, and in here I'm just going to add a public bool, and actually hold on, no, yeah, we're going to create a public bool mesh face towards neighbor, and what we're going to take in is our voxels first off, and our current position, so an int x, int y, int z, and the face. So int face, the direction that we need to do this check. And then we're just going to return true for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in here. I'm going to say if we can mesh a face towards our neighbor. So if we want to create a quad, a square mesh towards the neighboring voxel in this grid. So if the neighbor is air, then we will generate a mesh. If it's another block, well, we don't want to have meshes stuck together that we're not even going to see, so just don't generate a mesh for that. So we'll create this function in a second, but let's just fill it out. So voxels, and we're getting the voxels from here, and then the x and the y and the z and the face. All right, so let's create an int3, and this is going to be the face offset. So this is going to offset us into the neighbor voxel based on what face we are currently editing. So let's go ahead and do that. And for that, we're going to need to update our voxel tables, and we're going to add a new one in here. And let me open up an old project. I'll see you in a second. Here, I'm just going to take the voxel neighbor offsets table here from my other project, and I'm going to paste it in. I will also leave a link in the description for the updated voxel tables script. But now I'm just going to go into the voxel renderer. The face offset is not an int3, it's a vector3 int. And I mean, it really wouldn't matter. If I use an int3 vector3 int, it's going to come out basically the same. Let me see. Face offset, and actually neighbor. We're just going to call this the neighbor index. And yeah, we are going to use an int3. I am going to use an int3 using Unity mathematics, and it's going to be a new int3. We'll just do x, y, z. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to offset this by the voxel tables dot neighbor offset, and I'm going to pass in the face, and I'm going to do x. And actually what we can do here to make this even simpler for ourselves is just do that math at the end here. And let's see what the error is. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead here, and I'm just going to change this to an int3, make our life easier. Why not? So we're using the same type for everything. And yeah, it should work now. In here, yep, it's working. And then we're going to say if neighbor index is within the mesh bounds, because if you remember from our voxel constants, the resolution and height, if we go, like, say, try to access a voxel at like 9 in the x, since resolution controls the x and z, and this controls the y. So if we go over the resolution or height, then we want to just return air. So for now, I'm just going to say if true, I'm just going to say for a second, we're just going to fill this out. We'll change this in a second. If outside of array bounds, then we're going to return true. So if we are on the edge of the chunk trying to get a block that doesn't exist, we're just going to say yes, just make a quad there. This way our entire mesh from the outside of the chunk can be seen. All right, I'm just going to add a new method here, and I'm going to call it, I'm just going to copy this, paste this, and it's going to be is within voxel buffer bounds XYZ, and what we're going to do is if x is greater than or equal to 0, or x is less than voxel constants dot resolution. And then we're just going to do this for z and y. So y, and this is going to be height, and then z and z. So if all of these are true, we're going to return true. And this is going to be a boolean, and otherwise return false. All right, if we are in the bounds, if within the bounds, okay, just going to go into my voxel renderer, and we're going to say voxel utils dot is within buffer bounds, voxel buffer bounds, or just x, y, z, or sorry, the neighbor index. And you know what we're going to do? I'm going to go into voxel utils, and we're going to create another one that can just take in an int3, so we don't have to do the conversion. Int3 index, and I'm just going to do index dot index dot index dot index dot index dot and index dot. All right, box render the neighbor. So if the neighbor we are trying to get is within the buffer bounds, if it's not within the buffer bounds, otherwise we will get the voxels. We're going to get the neighbor at that index, and we're going to say voxel utils dot index 3d xyz, and we'll just do the same thing for that. Create another index 3d that takes in an integer. So, or sorry, that takes in an int3 index. Just gonna call that there, and there. Boom. Now we can just pass in our neighbor index, and we're gonna say if it's equal to, if the voxel is equal to air, then we will return true. We should show a mesh between air and non-air. So, and then finally, if none of these are true, we'll just return false. Now, actually, that's it. I can just click play, and hopefully, if I'm in the right project, this should work. So click play, and and outside the bounds. So this is what we were trying to prevent. All right, so I figured out the issue. This needs to be and instead of or. In the voxel utils, I did or, and that's not the case. Actually, we must be true on all of these. We must be within the bounds, not if x is in the bounds or z is in the bounds. So just change all of these. And now if I click play and I clear the console, we should have a working chunk. Yep. And if I go inside of here, you'll see, boom, perfectly clean mesh, no voxels inside. So now I can go ahead and go to my voxel renderer, or no, sorry, voxel constants, and I can up my resolution to 16 and 32. And now if I click play, we have a working chunk. Although it seems that our noise is going higher than the chunk. I'm not sure why. All right, so I fixed it. All I had to do was go into the voxel store and change this from being -3 to divided by 2, which just means that the maximum height of our terrain, or let's call it that for now, is going to be half of the chunk's height. So if you do that, then this is what you get. All right, yeah, that's all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.